Kutala's game with Sebastian Bashong, Sobek 2-player version. What do we think of it? How does it play? Stay tuned.
Hi, it's Tarrant.
And Stella here from Meeple University. Welcome back to our review video. This time we are going to talk about Sobek, the 2-player version. This game is obviously by the famous Bruno Kutala with Sebastian Bashong, and this just play 2 players.
Indeed. So this is a 2-player version of the earlier game Sobek, which we have not played. So this is a standalone review of this game without any background into the game it's come from.
Correct.
So how does it play? This is the board at setup. There's a whole lot of tiles here. There's a stack of tiles which you will also draw from back onto the board during the game. When it is your turn, most of the time you're going to be taking one of these tiles trying to create sets. And the way it works, the limitation on it, when the ankh is not on the board, you pick one of the central 4 tiles, and then you orient the ankh with its arms pointing in the direction shown on the tile. That goes into your hand, and then for any other selection off the board, you can only choose in the direction the ankh is pointing. You can pick any tile, but any tiles you skip over, this would go in my hand, but then the one I skipped over would go into my corruption pile. And you will lose points, or more correctly, give your opponent points if you have more corruption at the end of the game. So you'll be collecting tiles in that manner, trying to gain sets of the same material. The other actions that you can take on your turn, you can play a set, which involves playing at least 3 matching tiles out onto the table. You can add to a pre-existing set, or you can create a new set. You can use these Sobek statues as wilds.
As well, yeah. And
these sets are a major part of the points. It has a very similar scoring style to King Domino, which was a Kutala game from a few years ago, where for any given set, say all the fish on the board here were in a set, I would multiply the number of tiles in the set by the number of scarabs on tiles in the set. And so this would be 5 scarabs, 6 tiles. I'd get 30 points for that set if I'd played all of those as a set.
And you play it in, well, just collect them. You don't have to place it in certain placement order of some sort.
Exactly. The other action you can take, there are these character tiles that you can pick up on the board. I should have rotated this to the appropriate direction. If you pick up a character tile, it's sight unseen, but it gives you some ability that you can discard the tile to play its effect on your turn. When you go to take a tile and there are none in the direction the ankh is pointing, say it were like that, or the row had been swept out, then you refill the board and you keep going until a player has no legal action. And that is fundamentally the game.
Indeed. And when you actually lay this as well, like let's say I've got this fish and I play, let's say I play these 3. Yeah, I get to pick one of these, and that contains some bonuses.
Yes, these are the prorogue tiles. You get to look at them all and choose the one you'd like the most. So there are 5 of those. It gives you a nice little incentive to play your sets early, I suppose, because you can only lay 3 or more tiles at once. That would normally incentivize you to hang on to them until you've got heaps and heaps and you only have to spend 1 action to get them down. But these give you an incentive to play those sets early, and then it risks you not getting the 3 you would need to add to that set.
Because there is no hand limit. You can hold as many tiles as you want. Tarrant's just talking about incentive. There's also punishment. So some of these tiles, if that been played, punish another player to discard all their tiles in hand down to 6 to the penalty area, and that's not good. Well, that's good for the player who plays that tile, but the one that gets the, well, say 2 players. So yeah, the other player would suffer that.
Yeah, so there's just enough there's just enough threat there to have you keeping tiles coming out of your hand as well. You never know if those are going to come out, but there's just enough threat there.
Indeed.
There are other ways of getting coins. So there's a bag of coins, or
This is quite a big bag, and there's
Devon tokens.
Okay, so coins. You keep it secretly, obviously, and then reveal at the end of the game.
Yep, those are worth a random amount between 3 and 9 points, and some of those come from rewards, some of them come from discarding tiles that have a coin on them, and the corruption bonus is all in coins as well.
Yep. So what do you think, Tarrant?
So I think I was about to
I
make
beat you
you
to
say
it.
So for me, the overall the game is okay. It doesn't distinguish itself for me, and what I found was I didn't have the sort of control that I like to have over action selection in a two-player game. I always find two-player games are really good when it's like this tug-of-war sort of thing going on. Here I felt it was more... I could never really bait you into having to take an action that you didn't want to take, because there were so many other ways. Like if you had character tiles in your hand, or if you had sets to play, it gave you the ability to skip a position I'd set up for you on the board. And that, I think, detracted from it as a dual two-player sort of thing. I mean, you could argue that, yeah, all right, as long as you have a couple of those things in hand, it gives you the capability to get out of an opponent's trap. But they were pretty easy to get, so that was one side of it that I thought was a little bit easy and sort of general. And I think the other thing that I found, there's 6 different types of resources and sets that you can make. And that's a lot for a two-player game. I felt that we were kind of able to focus on our own thing a little bit. And maybe that was, with more experience, we'd recognise that you've got to... I mean, there is no your own thing in a two-player game. Anything you're scoring off, if I stop you from scoring off it, it's the same swing. But, yeah, I just kind of found we were able to focus on our own things a little bit. So, yeah, the game was fine, but I didn't feel it was that two-player dual meeting of the minds that a lot of two-player variants of games are.
I feel like this game is made for younger audience or families, and when we play, what Tarrant say is true to a certain degree. So you can't block things. You can't really. But there are times where you are, I want to take this, but then this angle will point at a wild tile. You don't want your opponents to get a wild tile, or you don't want opponents to get this worker. What is it called? Character tiles. So that is to a certain degree, but I think you can play it lightly, like we did, or you can play it more strategically with those things in mind. I feel like penalty tiles, we didn't really utilize a lot of the penalty tiles mechanic. I think in my mind, if it's penalty, my mind always automatically think, I avoid doing that. But in reality, like the same with Sham Phillips games, a lot of Sham Phillips games with corruption, it's actually, if you manage it well, it gives you even more points. So this is what happened with me when I played it. I'm kind of like, I have to pick the next one, just whatever, and then I can just, like hold my hands anyway. So that's the thing. So I should probably, you want to play more strategically. You pile on that penalty tiles. There are powers that let you discard penalty tiles as well in the game.
Yeah, and I think I would have probably preferred it without those. Because it's quite a clever thing, at this point I've got 2 choices, or I can risk losing more points to get more. And the way these work is that whoever has the fewest gains a coin. So that's between 3 and 9 points. So it's not insignificant. And every 3 tiles you have more than your opponent grants another coin. So Yeah, it forces that to me. If that were all it were, would introduce this real tension of, I can see the best tile is over there, but that's going to put me 3 ahead. Is that risk worth it? Will my opponent take one back? But then there were these really swingy tiles in there. You mentioned ones, if you've got a lot of tiles in your hand, there's one that makes you play down to 6 tiles by adding it to corruption. There's a Perot counter, which lets you pick up all of your corruption tiles. Those really swing the corruption thing around. And if they turn up and if they're in the game, it can kind of invalidate the tension that comes from that jumping mechanism. So
interesting. But again, I think this is aimed for younger audience or gateway gamers for 2 players.
Which I think is true, and the fact that part of the benefit is taking a coin worth a random number between 3 and 9 points, that's a really big swing as well. So it is consistent. Those swings are consistent with
the type of games, the type of audience they want to get to. So if you like that sort of game, or you like to introduce this to newer audience, then that would be it. I mean, you can see that the artwork is suitable. Like it's cute artwork, like for kids, and that as well. It's aims on the box for age 10 plus, but sometimes you just want to put the 14 plus, although the game is for younger. It's okay for younger audience because then you have to pay for extra fees if you want to put 10 or under 14 years old in the box. As far as I know, that's the case. Good game for entry level, for getaway games. Don't expect anything very thinky or very strategic. I think that's what it is. Yeah,
I think it's not that it can't be played in a thinky way, but it is not the same. It's not the same as many of the other duel games that are out there on the market. There is more swing in it.
Yep, which is more random, which is back again for beginners.
It's for people who want that.
Correct. So, what do you think? Have you played the original Sobek? Please let us know in the comments because we'd like to see or hear the comparison between the 2 games. Is that similar? I think it plays with cards, but I could be wrong, rather than tiles. And maybe you have played this. What do you think? Or we play a lot of 2-player games ourselves, so we always 2-player games like Taji, Seastead. Is this still your favorite, Seastead?
Seastead's still right up there, yeah.
Okay. Codenames Duet. Oh, love it. Although we're so bad at it. I don't know. We probably talk about it so many times. Yeah, there's a lot of great 2-player games. And what's your favorite 2-player games? Let us know. Maybe it's something that we can look into as well. Anything else, Tarrant?
No, that's all from me.
And that's it. If you find this useful and you can help us by hitting that like button, please. And subscribe to us if you haven't already done so. We do review like this. We do live playthrough on the weekend, how to play, and so on. I'm also on Instagram, Meeple_University. Hope you can find me there. We'll comment each other probably. And that's it. Hopefully you enjoy your day and see you next time. Bye.